This evening, I would like to talk about a controversial subject: anxieties. The subject came up because of a few things that happened in the last month or so. So I took a 2-week retreat, a personal retreat, to celebrate my 60th birthday. And truth be told, I'm not a natural meditator. I struggled for the last 10 years coming to the monastery. Primarily because I have a lot of back pain, or I had. And over the years, sitting down, relaxing, it kind of slowly subsided and I think healed, I hope. And this last 2 weeks, which was in May, was interesting because there I was sitting as I do, and these aches in the back, on the right hand side of my back, between the shoulder blades and I suppose the bottom rib, you could hear cracks and you could hear muscle tensions, and it was this, not a sharp pain, but a very dull, yucky discomfort. And of course, for most people, you would keep moving, and then at some point you'll say, this is not working, and then you get up and go do walking meditation instead of something. But this time I decided, okay, let's sit with it, just as we did just now, and see what happens. We sit with kindness, watch. And it got more and more uncomfortable, and after a while, you kind of get used to it. So, okay, leave it there, make space, let it relax. And after a while, at the end of the hour, I got up and went about my own, whatever, make myself a drink and all that. But interestingly, a lot of the discomfort never came back. And I had this kind of experiences before. You know how if you're doing deep stretches with your body, the initial stretching, especially if you haven't exercised for a while, it feels rather painful, very uncomfortable. But if you hold the stretch, stay with it for a while, the next time you come back and stretch again, your body is a bit more flexible and you're more comfortable. And so that was the idea in my head, and I tried it, and kind of worked. My hypothesis, having studied a bit of biology, is that perhaps during those moments that I sat with it calmly, that my neurons that were holding those muscles had time to rewire themselves, had time to troubleshoot and reprogram, I hoped. But yes, since then, I actually enjoy sitting a lot more. It's more fun, more pleasurable. And then I had this commitment to talk to a friend who is going through a bit of a trouble. He's having therapy, trying to solve childhood issues. And then he was telling me something quite not strange, but so he's a graduate of Ajahn Brahm's 9-day retreats. He has done several. He's come to stay at the monastery before. But for half a year now, as he's going through this therapy, old stuff comes up and he struggles to sit still. He finds it so unbearable that he has to keep on moving. He would be cleaning the toilet for a few hours at a go, and if he had free time, he'd be peeling potatoes for dinner, and if he had free time again, he would pick up the phone, and he tries to stay off computer games, but worst of times when it's really uncomfortable inside, he would turn on the computer and play Dota or something, and he knows playing Dota is bad for his mental health, but at that time of discomfort, that was the source, that one comforting thing that he could find. So as we were talking, I said, all right, let's try this. Close your eyes. Sit. And we did basically what we did for the last half hour. What do you feel? Discomforts, emotional discomforts. And sit with it for a while. Try and understand what's driving it. If there might be anxieties, and if there's anxiety, try and understand the story. Where does it come from? And he could see, good thing that he is a meditator or was a meditator, he could identify there are two kids, the 5-year-old former self and the 9-year-old former self or something like that, and they are throwing a tantrum inside. And what's the story? Not sure. It's as if the kids were trying to create this discomfort so that he doesn't look inside. Then I proposed that hypothesis to him. Is it possible that they are trying to get you out of here? And he said, yeah, that sounds like what they're trying to do. Is it the case that the therapy is at the point where they're going to be exposed and dealt with? And then, yeah. So the kids probably feel like they're going to be blamed, going to be identified as the trouble, source of all the trouble. But of course, even in Australian law, you are a minor until you're 16? Or something like that. You're not responsible for your actions until you're 16. So whatever the kids have done wrong, it's not their fault. Or they can't be held liable for their fault. So it's something that the 5-year-old doesn't know. Something that the adult knows. But because the inside doesn't know, therefore all these anxieties reside in there, and they color his day in dramatic ways. So he felt much better after that half-hour sit, having sort of understood what's going on. Whether it's right or wrong, but it's one explanation which he now believes plausible, and that helped him calm down a lot. And so happens, after that, I had 2 days later, it was my turn to go to Karnet prison and talk to the guys there. So I sat with them and we do a 90-minute session, close to 60 minutes of which is meditation. So I told them the same story. I had my own 2-week retreat. I had my back problem, and then I had this friend and I suggested, okay, as we sit, which is where I discovered this technique, when you have a tightness in the body, see if there is an emotional anxiety related to it. A lot of times, even in my own past, when I try and let go of muscles, let go of knots, let go of tightness, it doesn't let go. It's hard to let go, it's persistent. But now, after that one session at Karnet, I now realize, hey, quite often there is an anxiety that stops the muscle from letting go. You have to let go of the anxiety first. And that was interesting. So now here's coming back from that discovery. I started asking, wait, hang on, what did the Buddha say about anxiety? How come in the suttas, as we read it, doesn't speak about anxiety very much? Or did I miss something? Do you remember reading in the suttas anxiety? Not very much, right? Then, huh? Yeah, but suffering is such a big thing. So I was looking to the sutta for an answer how to deal with anxiety. So I searched. Nowadays, the nice thing about the current generation is you can digitally search anxiety and the computer tells you, right? And one of the first things I did was reverse search the dictionary. Normally, dictionaries give you Pali word to English explanation. Now here's an English word, give me the Pali word. And it turns out to be kukucha. Some of you Pali scholars will know udacha kukucha is very frequently translated as restlessness and remorse. Familiar? And it is identified as number 4 of the 5 hindrances. Normally we speak of the first 2 hindrances, which is kamachanda, sensual desires, sensual desires, and bhayapada, which is anger, ill will. And generally we say between sensual desire and ill will, that one pushes you, one pulls you. But now I realize this anxiety is one strong factor of disturbance. And I don't know if I can say that it's unfortunately translated as remorse. In our English language, when we say remorse, we typically think of you have done something naughty, therefore you feel guilty and now you're remorseful. Right? That's what remorse means, I think. If a judge listens to your case, he will look at your face and decide whether you're remorseful or not, and then decide what sentence to mete out. But here was, I think, a better indication of what actually hinders the meditation. Anxiety. I think that makes more sense. The anxiety that prevents you from being happy here and now. That kicks you around having to vacate the here and now. Does that feel right? It was right for that friend of mine. It was right for a few of the guys in Carnet. They told me so. And so here's the next question. Where does anxiety come from? What creates it? Obviously, anxiety in the English language says that we are worried that something will happen. That's why we are anxious. Make sense? I'm anxious that when I grow old, nobody will take care of me. I'm anxious that I might run out of money. I'm anxious that I have no place to stay next week. I'm anxious that my salary doesn't get into my bank end of this month. I'm anxious I might lose a job. I'm anxious my boss might scream at me tomorrow for whatever. You're worrying about a future that hasn't happened yet and may not happen. And unlike remorse, you actually haven't done anything bad yet. But you're already fearful it might go wrong. And then when you fear these things, that anxiety level stays there, And you go through your day carrying that anxiety. Okay. Of course, there are times when there is a reason to be anxious. You've actually don't think you have done a very good job with that report. And so, yes, there is a likelihood boss will read the report tonight and tomorrow call me into the meeting room and say, then you expect something unpleasant to happen. But there are other times when nothing bad is anticipated, or at least nothing is on the calendar, but you're expecting something bad anyway, and then you still feel anxious. And then these are anxieties tied not so much to activities on the calendar, but your view of the world. Nobody likes me, so I'm in a yucky place. Nobody respects me. I'm in a yucky place. And the world is out to harm people. The world is unfair. World War III is happening. I may lose the comfort of living in Perth within the year. Fuel prices are going up. I'm going to be bankrupt by whenever. And your I suppose the English word is catastrophizing. You are anticipating something will go terribly wrong, and so you have this. And it is a hindrance. The Buddha says, kukucha, hindrance number 4. So, I suppose starting from now that I've learned this, I invite you to, when you sit for meditation, to watch the anxiety level inside. So here's a suggestion. You've heard Ajahn Brahm's peaceometer before. Scale of 1 to 10, how peaceful are you? And quite often we can do that. We know how peaceful we are. What I notice is most of us don't know how anxious we are. How tightly we hold something inside. We can watch how peaceful we are, but when we are jittery, we are blind to our jitteriness somehow. Except when you close your eyes and look inside. Close your eyes, look inside. If you're comfortable here and now, your anxiety level is probably not very high. If your anxiety level is high, somehow this place is yucky. Your mind runs. That's a good indication, I think. Now, if you look around people, I like studying people from afar. Pleasant people, I don't mind. Difficult to talk to. And thinking about this anxiety, now I realize why. Anxiety is contagious, believe it or not. If you're in a room happily having a coffee and then somebody carrying anxiety walks in, you somehow get infected. Yes? No? And then if you try and have a conversation, sometimes, not all the time. Okay, so different people carry anxiety differently. Some people carry anxiety with anger, and then it's hard to talk to. Some people carry anxiety with a lot of complaining, pointing out the dangers here, the unfairness there, the evilness here, the unfriendliness there. And if you don't share that view, then that conversation doesn't go very much, doesn't go. When the anxiety is high on the other side, there's very little chance for you to be able to shift that view. In my own experience anyway, when the anxiety is high, if you can't help that person calm down the anxiety, that person can't hear you. Right? Yeah, watching people with anxiety then tells me something else. I think about, imagine a pot of water, right? If that pot of water you collect from the cold water tap, from that point, to get it to boil, you got to keep it on the stove for quite a while before you see any bubbles. But if you have a pot sitting on the stove on slow and it's simmering, it doesn't take very much for it to boil over. You turn up the fire and 3 seconds later, it's frothing all over, right? And you get the impression that people with anxiety is a bit like that. You don't know when you might trigger that person into anger, trigger that person into a depression, a meltdown. And sometimes now I wonder if a lot of our mental health issues is because the baseline anxiety is too high. And whether we can lower it collectively, individually and collectively. Of course, you guys are the lucky ones who get to come and sit here on a Friday night and relax, let go. Then I thought about this modern pop psychology thing. They talk about good stress and bad stress. You heard about that one? Especially if you are a parent and you're raising children and the argument is children need to go through a little bit of stress to learn, because that's what the world is. They will experience stress later in life. So you let them practice. You give them good stress. Don't give them bad stress. Then you start thinking, what's the difference between good stress and bad stress? Is it the nature of the stress that is different? Or is it the nature of the response that is different? In my mind now, I'm thinking some kids can handle more stress than others, some kids less. Adults likewise, some adults can handle more stress, some adults less. And I guess a big part of it depends on how you're conditioned and how you respond to the bad news of the world. That tells you whether it's good stress or bad stress, I think. If you are constructive in your response, if you find out, oh, something happened, the roof is leaking, it's going to rain tomorrow, stress, and you go out there and quickly fix the roof. Yes, you felt the stress, and you went on and did what was necessary. You might be wet all over, you might catch a chill, you might catch a flu, but you fixed it, you feel good about it, and for most of us, we'll call that good stress. If you went there and you saw the roof leaking and you think, oh, why me? Why again? And then you go into a depression and you start cursing everybody who happens to come by. And then the contractor who comes and does this job for you will also get infected by your anxieties and stress. And then he will get infected by this. He will also probably do a shoddy job and try and get out of there quickly. and then you now start to realize conditioning is probably the determinant of how much anxiety you carry, how you respond to the world, how you respond to the bad news especially. and the challenges. Of course, if you are more resourceful, if you are better skilled, you know how to fix roofs, you know how to talk to people, you know how to negotiate with your boss, chances are you will encounter less stress. On the other hand, it's also possible that the anxiety causes us to be less skillful in our interactions. If you're anxious and you have to talk to your boss or you have to talk to the contractor, you will start frowning and you'll start with, squeezing up your face and frown. And then the conversation becomes very uncomfortable for the other party. And your conversation probably is not going to resolve a lot of issues. Brene Brown, many of you will know her for her TED Talk. And she was talking about guilt and shame and stuff like that, but she made one comment that stuck in my head. Blame. So she noticed people blaming one another, and she decided to define that word with what she saw rather than what the dictionary said. And she said this: blame is the mechanism, the thing you do to discharge the discomfort that is inside, to put it on somebody else. At least to try and put it on somebody else. And this discomfort is anxiety. The roof is leaking, he's going to charge me $600. It's like, and you need to discharge that discomfort somewhere. And you would blame somebody for it. The boss is going to tell you something about your report, but I don't want to carry that discomfort. I need to blame somebody. The garbage man this morning, therefore my report came out this way. Something like that, right? And so innocent bystanders get blamed. And I wonder now sometimes, a lot of arguments between people who are stuck in relationships, husband and wives, parents and kids, brothers and sisters or whatever, bosses and workers with workers. You're stuck. You're carrying the anxiety, and you're not skillful enough to address the root issue, but you still need to discharge that discomfort. And then we do unskillful things, blaming rather than taking responsibility, shouting. So, yeah, if only we could cool down, let go of their anxieties, and be the cold pot of water rather than the simmering pot of water, to allow ourselves a lot more headroom to actually have a difficult conversation and solve problems. To solve problems internally as well. We know there's a discomfort inside. First reaction is push away the discomfort, but get past that first reaction, sit with the discomfort. You kind of know that you can't quite push it away, especially old stuff, old thoughts, old quarrels, old this and that. It won't go away. It will stay there, and in the end, you, the attention, has to be the one that steps away in order to escape it. You can't be in the here and now to enjoy this moment. So rather than to try and push it away and push yourself out, sit with it with kindness, with compassion, make space, give it lots of safe time, space to let go. Of course, then having experienced the discomfort of anxieties, the next thing the wise person would do is to avoid the root causes of anxiety. 2, 1, as we said, if it hasn't happened yet, then there's a good chance you don't have to worry about it. If it hasn't happened yet and it's not likely to happen, then worrying for the most part is a waste of time. On the other hand, if something has happened and it's something that you can't quite fix, it's too far back in history, the person who you had that bad interaction with is no longer around, you're not meeting that person anyway, then holding this anxiety inside is also a waste of time. What for? So Ajahn Brahm comes up with this very popular talk that says 4 ways of letting go. Don't carry it around. If you do carry it around, it's infectious. And if people know it's infectious, they'll stay away. And I kind of realized also, the people who are low in anxiety tend to be able to smile more. People who can't smile, have difficulty smiling, carrying a lot of stuff. I noticed this when my dad left my mum. For years, my mum could not smile. And we would be there, all the 3 kids, the 3 kids kind of like were on her side. And we would go back for Chinese New Year and sit down together, have our reunion dinner with her, and then we'd say, all right, let's do a family photo. Mom, smile. Mom, say cheese. And she had difficulty. And fortunately now, many years passed, Dad has passed away now, and she is able to smile a fair bit more. And I invite you also to check yourself if you can smile. If you can't, what is stopping you? Whatever it is, let go. So, I think those people who treat stress as good stress tend to have a better approach to life. Even when you know the world is going to end tomorrow, you'll still go out and plant a tree today. That kind of attitude. Even if you know things are going to all go pear-shaped tomorrow, we'll still have a good dinner tonight. And enjoy company around you. Makes sense, right? Yeah. So, anyways, yeah, that's... What else do I have to say? Yeah, I think that's about all the message I have for this evening. Perhaps question? I must say something else, I guess. Sometimes when I imagine, if I offer a view like that, then the question comes up, How do we solve the problem if that person is still this and this person is still that? And what if my situation is still bad? And what do I do next? And I suppose the good thing is you guys are all in BSWA and you hear all these discussions. And this one session isn't intended to solve all the problems, it's just to highlight that sometimes we have mental habits that are not very useful, of holding anxieties, holding on to bad memories. And Ajahn Brahm tells this story specifically about the farmer, whether the farmer that collects the eggs or farmer that collects the poo. And this is what we do: you collect the poo and you keep it, and what if the poo turns bad, or what if the poo doesn't? And it just stinks up the house and stinks up the clothes. And let go. If I can convince you that much, that'll be good. Okay, any questions? Yes. Coming.
Venerable Radha, I wonder if there is a connection or a directly proportional relationship between sense of self and at least some of the reasons for anxiety. You are anxious only if you have a huge sense of self, isn't it?
Yes, indeed. Anxieties, as we were saying earlier, when you kind of worry about things go wrong, I also notice that anxieties happen quite often to people who want a specific outcome. I want my boss to think of me highly. I want to be loved. I want to have other people respect me. I want this job to be done properly. I want other people to behave according to the Vinaya. And that sense of wanting is the one that you fear you get disappointed.
Yeah.
And indeed, if you are more loose about stuff, okay, we need to fix the roof, but I don't have a particular outcome so long as it stops dripping. Whether you stick a plastic sheet on it, you do a proper roof tile, or whether you put a... Some people are more relaxed about stuff and they don't seem to get so anxious. Some people want it done exactly. How come the tile is slightly different color from the next tile beside it? And then they make a fuss of it. And then they get anxious. Well, I've been calling the contractor for the last whole week and he's ignoring me. And a common story. So this need for a very specific outcome tends to drive it, I think, from my observation. Yes, indeed, if you read the suttas, it will tell you that the arahants will not get anxious.
That's right, yeah. Yeah.
The arahants already see through the whole thing. It's all empty anyway. Why are we struggling?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There is this other part in the suttas. This is called the Dat Sutta in Samyutta Nikaya 36.6, I think. One of my favorite. It explains a very unusual concept. It says, okay, we get so the Buddha asked his monks, what's the difference between a learned disciple and a common unlearned person? when both of them will feel pleasant feelings, both of them will feel unpleasant feelings, and both of them will feel neutral feelings. But what's the difference? And the Buddha went on to say, the ignorant one will feel two darts. When something hits you, something goes wrong, you say, oh, that's unpleasant. And then you go on to feel, who did this? I need to go and then you feel an emotional hurt in addition to the physical hurt. And then the Buddha says, the learned one will know, okay, there's a physical hurt, leave it there. Don't get upset about it. And then you don't feel the emotional hurt. But why? What's the reason behind that? Buddha goes on to say this. The one who is ignorant does not know the escape from that pain. Doesn't know the origin of the pain, doesn't know the cessation of the pain. The learned one will say, okay, that pain is because of the dart. If you detach your body from it, from your mind, if your mind from the body, you won't feel that pain anymore. If you stop blaming the world, if you understand the world sometimes go right, sometimes go wrong, and you go with the flow, you don't get so upset. The emotional hurt, the mental hurt is not there. Interestingly, the Buddha goes on to say, the ignorant one, because he doesn't know how to let go of the emotional pain, goes on to look for pleasures as an escape. Thinking that if I have something pleasurable, this pain will go away. Which of course, we know you will now have both the nice feeling as well as the painful feeling. When this one wears out, this one is still here. And then, even more interestingly, the Buddha says, for the ignorant one, the neutral feeling is boring, is a pain. It's not nice. For the learned one, the neutral feeling is very pleasant to hang out in, which was what you did just now with the in-breath and your out-breath. It's effectively something very neutral, but if you learn how to appreciate it, it feels nice. The only difference is you learn how to appreciate it. And after a while, when you have learned how to appreciate being neutral, being unperturbed, you stop getting anxious. You stop looking for trouble with the world. I'll try and explain this on Sunday during the Sutta class.
Thank you, Venerable.
Venerable Radha, thanks very much for your talk tonight on anxiety. Yeah, anxiety is fear of the unknown, isn't it? Fear of the unknown, I think. Yeah. You see, anxiety and stress, they go like almost hand in hand. If we leave it too long, it will fall into depression. Once we reach depression, we buggered up the whole system here, this thing, and it's hard to get up again, this thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So here's what I observe. Fear, there's an imminent danger. You're afraid that this danger will eventually result in harm to you. So fear, there is an object in front of you. Anxiety, the object is a bit further away, the risk is actually lower. You don't know whether it's actually going to hurt you or not. It's probably so, and you're worrying more for a small risk of small. And then depression happens when you feel helpless. You can't do anything about it. You think, oh, gone case, no hope.
Yep.
Yeah. That's the question behind. Yeah.
Oh, can I just say something? Just quick.
Yeah.
Okay. You see, anxiety, we all have it, And you have anxiety, the best thing to come to is here, temple, Buddhism. The Buddha gave us a lot of tools in it. Okay, yeah. So can I ask, anxiety, not knowing, is a disturbing feeling, Not knowing that, what's before that for me, what's going on, all this thing? You go to see doctors, they can't help you, they only can give you all these pills, the what they call like Valium, all to take, all these things, and the side effect too, okay, yeah. So what the Buddha told us, thanks big boss Buddha, okay, thank you big boss,
Yes.
It helped us a lot, thing, It comes from knowing, this anxiety or stress which I have is okay. It comes from something happening, which is not good, okay. And then we keep harping on it, and it's not good. This thing, mind, you think good, you feel good. You think not good, you feel not good, So the anxiety is from the mind, all these things, Okay, knowing this, half the battle is gone. We've already, solved the problem with it. The other one it needs is just the tools, impermanence, or it won't last long, this thing, no self, This all part of life, suffering, all this thing, And then it means to not be attached by, all this like the extremes, It means praise, blame, all profit, all the things, and many other tools, patience, tolerance, understanding are the highest virtues, Sorry. Yeah. So what do you think? All this, that's
Yes.
a lot of tools, Anyway, someone waiting now. Thank you very much for the wonderful talk,
Thank you. Yes.
Hi. So now I'm totally not an expert on this. Correct me if I'm wrong, right? But I kind of read the research about the mechanism of anxiety, or
Right.
at least what modern psychologists talk about, and also how, the fundamentals fully come from Buddhism, but so it's really about survival.
Yes.
So there's an ancient part of the brain, right? Ancient part of the brain that's activated
Yes.
when something happens, when there's danger, where's a danger.
Yes.
And that's sort of this familiar term that knows as a fight or flight.
Yes.
All right, so, okay, that's been activated. That's a danger. Now, that's not the end of it. So there's a mechanism in the mind that amplify that. So there's a danger, there's a thinking about the danger, there's a loop. So the mind's it is a survival mechanism to react for the danger. It can be all sorts of dangers. Okay. So let's assume I've got a knee pain.
Yes.
All right. So I've got a knee pain, and my mind tells me, oh, there's a pain, there's a problem, there's a danger. My mind's drawing me to think about the pain, the problem, and amplify it and create that cycle of there's the physical impact, but also there's the psychological build-up on that
Yes.
pain. All right. So okay, and that sort of amplifies itself. It's sort of a loop.
Yes.
Okay. So now there's a powerful magic of meditation. Yeah, so at least, and I kind of read it, and I also experienced it myself. Where, all right, so now, okay, I sit comfortably, and I experience the pain, but I have this ability to step out of myself and look at this pain from a third party. I look at it from the side, and I can kind of separate this. You know, I can have a, okay,
Yes.
this is the physical component of the pain,
Yes.
but I can reduce slowly, you know, but just observing the pain, I can reduce that psychological effect, those loopholes, and then I just stay with the physical pain. Now, I'm not talking about the applying kindness to that area of the knee. That's therapeutic by itself, and then that's probably heals it, as it, you know, heals the physical component of it. I'm just talking about, you know, the third party, looking at that pain as a third party and remove, or at least reduce, or cause that diminishing. But where I found, but sometimes it can be a lot more complicated. You know, sometimes there is pain that comes from a childhood, and say that take a household where there is a domestic violence,
Yeah.
and that pain is not a physical pain. It's an emotional pain that is deeply engraved. It's very difficult
I understand.
to let go. It's not as simple.
I understand.
And yeah, I mean, it's probably a psychological pain, but it's also in the body. It's within yourself. It's very difficult. That's where I find it really tricky. I find it a lot more complex.
Indeed. So the mechanism of letting go now, what we were dealing with, what we did in the meditation was for the easier stuff. The more complex stuff, I imagine therapy works better, or at least works concurrently. It's a lot of the root cause of anxiety is what the Buddha might call underlying tendencies and views. What you believe, how you understand the world. And those understanding colors your feelings and your perception. If I see the world as a dangerous place, then I will behave according to that. If I believe that people are unfriendly to me, I will be very careful talking to people. If I believe that all those guys over that side are all burglars, and then I will have my anxieties, right? And conditioning at childhood goes very deep. That I must say, yes. So this friend of mine who's going through therapy now is also dealing with 5-year-old stuff and 9-year-old stuff and stuff like that. What the Buddha has taught is useful to help understand all this stuff. The Dhamma is pretty much explanation of the workings of the mind and trying to push it towards peace, push it towards quietness, stillness. But it is not designed to address complicated childhood issues. Yeah. But it will help. Yeah. Okay. Any other question from the floor? Yes.
Thank you very much. Very nice instructions, by the way, for the breath meditation. I liked it very much. Thank you. The question is quite simple, actually. What to do as a Buddhist around people that are anxious. You mentioned that anxiousness is contagious. So that's one viewpoint, is how to defend yourself, I guess, and then how to help the other people. I mean, like, generally what to do around people that are anxious, and let's say that I'm not anxious in a particular situation, but people around are anxious. What to do?
There's this sutta I came across about 1 year ago, and I gave a sutta class, mentioned it anyway. So the Buddha was talking to his monks. He says, okay, as you practice in a monastery, you will obviously observe other monks who, in your eyes, misbehave or do the wrong things. And quite often, if you're the righteous type of person, you want to go and tell the junior monk off, you shouldn't do this, that's not how it's done around here. But the Buddha said, before you jump into that, please consider, judge that person on two qualities. Is that person, does he have strong pride? Will he get hurt by your telling him? And two, is he likely to listen to you? Does he respect you enough to take your opinion? And he says, if this monk is very amenable, he takes instructions, listens, and he will, on listening to a good instruction, will immediately change, like this fellow monk here who is in, by all means, go and talk to him. If he's got pride, but he will still listen, go and talk to him. It's worth your trouble, even if he gets a bit hurt, for you to talk to him. Okay, so he doesn't have pride, but he's stubborn in his views. If you think you can change his mind, go and talk to him. It takes you 2 hours to argue, to explain. 2 hours is a small thing compared to a good monk. If he's going to get hurt, and he's still going to argue, but in the end he will still change, go and talk to him. All that trouble is still worth it. On the other hand, if you think at the end of the whole thing, he's still going to be the same, the phrase I remember very clearly, Bhikkhu Bodhi's translation, do not underrate equanimity. Do not go and disturb your own peace. So, if this person is angry, anxious, have a judgment. Do you think that person respects you enough to listen to you? Do you have the skill enough to convince that person or help that person? But how to help? This one I learned from Ajahn Brahm. Scolding, putting down, denigrating somebody, getting back, revenge doesn't help. It might stop a behavior for the short term, but it doesn't change anything inside. So if you want to help, the thing to do is first hold a safe space to have an interaction. If you can't have a civil conversation, you're wasting your time. If you have a civil conversation, there's a chance that something constructive will come out.
Thank you.
Shall I answer the online questions? Anxiety, it can become a habit and almost feels like a default in the mind. What can we do when we want to focus on the breath in meditation, but anxiety is in the background? In such a situation, the anxiety is the loudest squeaking wheel. Take care of the anxiety first. Attend to anxiety, hold space, let it calm down, And then when it's relaxed, continue with the meditation. My suggestion, use the breath as your partner in dealing with anxiety. I have found that this Ajahn Brahm's method of having breath as your friend is really helpful. You know how it is when you go into a new place, a strange place, you walk into a Buddhist center where everybody keeps quiet, sits still like this, and you may wonder, how come there are no friends here? But if you came with a friend of your own, you won't feel so awkward and strange. If you sat in meditation and you think, oh, I got to do this alone, you might feel a bit lonely. But if you sat in there, my breath has come in to greet me again. How nice. And then you deal with your anxiety with that friend next to you. That's how I do it, and that's how I've been teaching the guys in Karnet prison to do it. And surprisingly, they all sit for 1 hour, and we have to stop because the guards need me out of there by the end of an hour. Otherwise, we'd carry on. The last few days, I felt pretty overwhelmed due to thinking too much on the Dhamma, until I decided to relax my thought process. Was that letting go? Yes. But thinking too much on the Dhamma, that's a strange one. Overwhelmed by thinking too much about the Dhamma. Perhaps it's not the Dhamma that you're overwhelmed with, but other dilemmas that the Dhamma has surfaced. The Dhamma itself is supposed to be a very calming thing. But yes, that was letting go by relaxing for a while. Don't push yourself too hard. The Dhamma process, despite the Four Noble Truths talking about suffering, the path itself is one of joy. Few people know that, but if you look at the good meditators, they're all smiling. See? How can we heal from anxiety using the Buddhist techniques? Come for more meditation, learn to let go, relax. Do kindness. One observation I would point out. You notice amongst all the crowd that comes to Dhammaloka, the Thai crowd that goes over there on Saturday for lunch and Sunday for lunch, they don't seem to have anxiety. Why is that? In addition, my hypothesis is that they have friends, lots of friends. Right? The Thai people somehow just have lots of friends. Whereas I see the rest of us seem to sit alone, come alone, go back alone. So yes, we are amongst kind people who come to Dhammaloka. I also understand a lot of us come to religion because of troubles, but do enjoy the company, the friends. And that way you won't feel so lonely, people in Dhammaloka think most of us, obviously we are all human, will hold space for each other. Hold a comfortable, gentle, peaceful space for each other. Of course, if you came in here and you saw that gentle, peaceful space and you unload all your anxiety on everybody, of course, then somehow the Thais manage to instill this culture among themselves, amongst each other. And I suppose that's part of the Buddhist path. We should try and do this for each other as well. Yes. Make peace, be kind, be gentle. Practice the Brahma Viharas. metta to everybody, compassion to everybody. That's part of the Buddhist method. Of course, meditation, be sensitive to what's going on inside. Apply the sila. Don't create more causes for anxiety. Create causes for friendship and peace and stillness. That's the Buddhist techniques. Okay. Sadhu. Okay, I guess no more questions. Let's pay our respects to the Buddha. Araham Samma Sambuddho Bhagavan Buddham Bhagavantam Abhivademi Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammam Namasami Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sangham Namami